Greetings and welcome to Provenant Vox, where we discuss various aspects of the occult and magic without the bullshit.
You're here with us,
Baron Aragni
and Baronessa Aragni, your hosts, published authors, and occultists with around 40 years of combined practical experience.
In today's episode, we will be discussing the principle of simplicity, something which will benefit anyone practicing magic, regardless of what paradigm you are in.
Before we begin, if you enjoy our podcast, please like, subscribe, and share so that more people can discover this podcast of ours.
I put a spell on you. Because you're mine.
It's no secret that we started our path being initiated into black witchcraft. Now, that might have been some years ago, but from time to time we do still practice witchcraft.
Black witchcraft and even witchcraft itself holds a very special place in both of our hearts, as apart from that being our first paradigm as mentioned, there's just something about it that anyone who practices it can also attest to. There's just something about this practice which gets deep within your very being, deep within your bones, that it's something very difficult to explain, but something yet so powerful that it cannot be denied.
Witchcraft would be akin to taking off your shoes and your socks and stepping outside and feeling the grass and the earth underneath your feet, compared to where you don't go outside barefoot and you wear shoes and socks, etc. and so forth, and you cannot feel the earth underneath your feet. Witchcraft, black witchcraft, is very visceral art, same as necromancy, and it's just something about it which it just links you up much more stronger to the natural environment, the elements and the currents which courses through the earth and in turn courses through you.
Now, don't think this means some kind of hippie nonsense. No, actually it doesn't. And neither is it very peace-loving, actually, if you actually know what you're talking about. No, witchcraft, black witchcraft, is a very nature-based magical system, yet for very good reason, because look around you. You are living on the planet Earth, in nature itself, and nature is everywhere. Even in the man-made world, man-made structures, nature is the pinnacle of this world, the focus of this world. So obviously power will be lent to your practice.
Unlike most forms of magic, witchcraft and black witchcraft does not solely rely upon, for example, the energy which you personally project from your being. Witchcraft also draws upon the natural elements and the natural energies in turn in which you transmute within yourself, then project to make manifest your will and desires.
Something which we can mention, which when people tend to think about witchcraft or black witchcraft or ancient witchcraft, people tend to think about the Druids of old. And many people think that these practitioners were turn the other cheek, happy-go-lucky kind of people. That cannot be further from the truth. Earth magic, and thus witchcraft, regardless in what consonant it was performed, in its base format, in its original format, is, as mentioned, visceral. That also means bloody. That means even a sense of darkness that comes with it. The Druids actually were very, very, very bloodthirsty practitioners that would perform human sacrifices upon a drop of a hat in extent and degree. So whenever you hear someone mention that witchcraft or black witchcraft or even the ancient practitioners of these arts were akin to modern day Wiccans or these
neo-pagans
and these light workers of sorts, you can very quickly put them in their place, knowing that that is not the case at all.
Remember, traditional witchcraft is not Wicca or neo-paganism.
Many people unfortunately make that mistake these days.
So under the term traditional witchcraft, you will find witchcraft and black witchcraft. Black witchcraft is just the much more darker aspect of witchcraft itself. Now let's look at some of the godheads or deities you will find with witchcraft and black witchcraft especially.
First up, we will make mention of Hekate, which is the only being, the only entity, and frankly the only thing in this world, or the next, which we will call our mother.
Indeed, and it's also the only entity or godhead worth mentioning in the subject matter of witchcraft and black witchcraft.
Now, for those of you who do not know, Hekate is a very ancient being, a very ancient deity, a very ancient goddess. And she, amongst other things, rules over the practice of witchcraft, black witchcraft itself.
She was once living, by the way, for those of you who didn't know it, and she was a sorceress or a witch herself. And she became so powerful that when she died, physically died, she spiritually ascended and became deified and a deity by right.
And for those of you who may have read some of our works or books, blog posts, and so on, you will know that it is rare, very rare, yet it is very possible for any human or any human by birth to ascend to such a spiritual extent. However, none comes quite close in the same regard to Hekate.
Indeed, she is known as the mother, and she's known as our mother, mother of night, mother of darkness, mother of witchcraft, mother of nature magic, mother of the shadows, and many, many other titles.
For those who work with her, and if you feel drawn to work with her in particular as well, she is, as a mother, she will become as your mother, like your physical mother cannot even compare. Yet, she is not the coddling helicopter mom type of figure, no. She is strict, yet she will protect and defend you and teach everything that she knows. Unlike some other beings that you will encounter that is very selfish with their knowledge, that does not want to see you progress spiritually in any manner, Hekate is the opposite of this. She will teach you if you seek to learn, and she will help you reach new heights of power with your personal power and practice. However, she is very strict, and if you seek to call anyone else mother above her or other than her, this will not end very well for you, because she is very protective over her children.
Yes, for example, if you have an altar, if you make use of an altar, and you have an image or symbol of her on the altar, you cannot have any other deity or spirit or entity sharing that altar space with her, as she is extremely jealous and extremely protective, like Baronessa said. So the altar you make use in black witchcraft or witchcraft will only be dedicated to her.
Now you may ask us, but you said that we're going to be discussing something in this podcast that anyone can benefit from, and which is important to everyone, no matter what paradigm you practice. But you're talking about black witchcraft and witchcraft now, so what's going on here? Well, this leads us into the purpose or the topic of this particular podcast, something which is inspired by the practice of witchcraft and black witchcraft itself. It is something we call the principle of simplicity.
Exactly. Speaking about simplicity, you might wonder that, as Baronessa said, why are we mentioning witchcraft and black witchcraft in regards to simplicity? Well, if you look at the most simplistic forms of magic, such as folk magic, hoodoo, and so on and so forth, all of these simplistic methods are based on witchcraft. They are derived from witchcraft in one form or the other.
Now, what does the principle of simplicity mean? Well, we believe it's pretty self-explanatory. However, we will just lay it out there for you. Just because something is simplistic in its construct or employment or deployment in this regard does not make it less powerful or less potent at all. In fact, it's the opposite. The simpler something is, the better it will work.
Have you ever heard the saying, keep it simple, stupid? Well, the same counts for magic. If you make something more complex, it's more likely to be a seemingly failure than it would be if you keep it practical and very easy and simple.
Something which we even regard in the mundane world say when we make something or when we do something physical, if something, the more moving parts or the more parts something has, the greater chance it's going to fuck up. That it's just a rule of this world. That's just how things work. With magic, it is no different. The more elements in the ritual or spell has, the more components it has, the more steps it has, the more everything it has, no matter what it is, the greater chance something will go wrong, the energy will not be directed properly, or any number of things can go wrong.
Exactly. In one of the previous episodes, we mentioned association as well. Well, the fact of the matter is, anybody can associate with simplicity. Now, if you cannot associate with the right, as mentioned before, due to complexity or other elements, then it means it is foo bar. In other words, fucked up beyond all recognition before you even started. That's a fact. Now, with simplistic magic, as the example we are using, witchcraft or black witchcraft, you have less moving parts, like Baronessa said, so it will be much more likely to succeed.
And with a less moving part, so to speak, there are less things that you have to direct your energy into or through. There are less aspects that you have to consider. Then, yeah, well, we can actually describe this better when we get to a couple of the examples of this. But keep it simple, stupid. The principle of simplicity. You don't have to overcomplicate things for yourself at all to make it more effective.
Let the process be natural. Let it feel natural. And let it be so natural that it's almost automatic. Now let's take a look at some of the examples of simplistic spell work. Let's use nature first off as an example. Okay. You get the runes, the Elder Futhark runes, which some of you might be adept with or even aware of. Now, you take a rune of healing like Berkana and you etch it upon a tree that gets a lot of sunlight. And you etch that same rune upon your skin and you transpose the blood from your skin onto the rune. It will heal you automatically. That is so simplistic, you cannot be at fault.
You cannot make a mistake with it. You cannot fuck it up. It's so simple that literally even a child can do it.
And let's look at simple things, such as you take a bunch of twigs, you bind them together to form a poppet or crowbody, and then there you have your effigy or poppet in which you can do your magic with.
Or let's also take one of... I can honestly say this is one of my personal favorites. I know Baron will feel the same way, but you can ask him even. I really love this particular form of magic.
Oh yeah.
Bindings. Not just in the malefic sense, but general. The knotted cord. It is so simple. Literally what it is comprised of is you take a cord, pro tip, the length of your forearm, whether it is from wool or cotton or whatever, preferably from natural material. You take that and you tie a series of knots into the cord to represent various things or to make manifest certain things. And thus you place the cord, either you can carry it with you on your person, you can tie it around your arm until it falls off by itself. You can use it in conjunction with other spell work, but by itself, the knotted cord is one of the most powerful and the most effective spells you can possibly find.
And let's not forget, it is truly, truly most ancient, that type of magic. Alright, you can literally perform thousands of various type of spells, just making use of a knotted cord.
Another simple example is even the candle. You etch runes upon it, or you mark it with your blood, and then you just let it burn down by itself.
That is so simplistic. Well, as Baronessa said, even a child can do this as well. So you don't need a lot of pre-preparation or anything as such. You just need the right mindset and the right things to make use of to make your magic manifest. It's that simple. If you have to draw up a massive circle, and then you have to bless the corners, call the quarters, then you have to unlock the quarters, and then you have to call forth guardians, and then you have to bless your altar and incantation that goes with that, etc., and so forth, in conjunction with a normal ritual structure and format, then that is not necessarily better.
In fact, if you go through all of these steps, by the time you actually get to the spell work itself, chances are your focus will not be 100% on the purpose, the matter at hand anymore, because of all the other steps you had to go through. And furthermore, if you perform a complicated ritual, like what Baron said, the whole introduction plus words of power plus calling forth various intelligences and setting them at task and so on and so forth and blah blah blah, then just think, if you take all those steps into consideration, just look at all the times a fuck up can happen. Just think about it.
Exactly. Now, as we mentioned, the tools in witchcraft and black witchcraft, traditionally, even as we were taught and initiated, you don't need all those tools. That is a modern invention. Truly, the only thing you will ever need in those rites is basically just yourself, a platform, and a knife.
To clarify, regarding the tools, we're talking about, say, the athame, the pentacle, the bell, the chalice, and so on. No. That's modern.
Yes, those are modern additions to the fact. So that is actually a misconception and misinformation. As we wrote in the book of Azarok, you can always carry a nanta bag with you. That is a small little bag in which you have a quick, how can I say, a magical...
an altar or ritual setup.
Yeah, in a small little bag. That is very simple and very convenient as well. That is ancient witchcraft, by the way. Okay, now, if you keep it simple, stupid, then you will gain experience through practical application consecutively. Okay, and you build upon that experience and make your work even greater. Not necessarily complex, just greater. From the power that you make manifest in those simplistic rites, it will be far more effective than any other type of magic you can practice.
Exactly. We cannot say that any better like that. And even with simplistic magic, such as sympathetic magic and so on, when you practice that, it's not like other parts of life where the more complicated thing you take on, the greater your experience gained will be. No, that's not the case in magic. Any act you perform, especially the simplistic ones, you will refine your practice, you will gain your experience, and you'll make manifest much greater things in much lesser time.
I'm going to use a crass example of this. In order for you to fuck well, you're not going to masturbate constantly. No. In order for you to fuck well, you need to fuck frequently. Then you'll fuck well. That's the truth.
Yeah. A very strange example. I think that's one of the strangest examples we've ever had on the show. Ours.
We're practical people.
Well, anyway. There you have it.
It's that simple.
Now, we must speak of, regarding tools in simplistic magic, we must speak of one element in particular which has a very, very powerful role, not just in witchcraft and black witchcraft, but also in magic as a whole, in many different practices. This one particular element plays a role unlike no other, and that is blood. Now, apart from the ways you can use blood in a ritual, as in, say, marking a candle after etched or inscribed, or writing your petition upon a paper, marking it with your blood, and then burning it to release it into the ether, we will now quote to you some of what we have written in our book, The Gospel of the Ghouls, Volume 1, regarding blood and the applications thereof.
Chapter 14 of Blood and Water. There are many necromancers that do not offer blood as libation in their workings, substituting this with various other elements. We do not find anything wrong with this kind of practice, yet there are a few important factors to consider. Blood through living sacrifice was given since humanity became aware of higher intelligences. Blood sacrifices was not offered to deities due to bloodlust from the barbaric cultures. Quite the contrary. Even the most progressively advanced nations in history, such as the Romans, Greeks, Babylonians, Egyptians, etc., practiced this divine ceremony. Why is blood such a special libation in necromancy? Blood contains 5 elements: earth, air, fire, water, and akasha. Earth is the proteins and minerals, air, the oxygen, fire, the hemoglobin, and akasha, the ether. The correct term for ether is ether subtilis totius orbis, or fine ether of entire universe. In the spirit world, the ether consists of all these 5 elements. However, it is not as dense as its scarlet counterpart. The very building blocks of existence is formed from these 5 elements, making it very significant in the ebb and flow of reality.
Well, there you have it. That is just a little bit that we quoted from it, but from just that, you can see the importance of blood. And when we say the importance of blood, we're not only referring to blood sacrifice here, all right? We mean even giving yourself a small cut, a superficial little cut upon your flesh, and marking things with your blood, using that in your spell work. When you make a knot in a cord, you mark it with your blood, and so on and so forth.
As an example, if you create an altar for witchcraft dedicated unto Hekate, and you mark that which is on the altar with your own blood, even the effigy of Hekate, then you'll have such an immensely strong bond with the entity and everything upon that altar, which links it directly and much more stronger to you itself as a practitioner. And thusly, your practices will be magnified 1 billionfold.
And notice, that is literally all you need to do. Just mark it with a bit of your blood. No words, no ritual, no nothing.
It's such a simple act that has such great results and such great impact in your magical world. If you want to establish a stronger relationship with an entity, you'll make use of this method as well, what we have suggested.
Any time you use blood in a ritual, whether it's your own or whether it's from a sacrifice, but let's just quickly put sacrifices aside for a second. Let's just talk about your own blood. No matter how simple the spell, no matter what, as soon as you add blood into the equation, it becomes supercharged with no extra effort on your behalf. You must remember this.
Especially if that blood you use is linked directly to a deity such as Hekate, then that serves as a beacon unto the deity itself to make manifest that which you desire even more powerful. Remember, we won't spread misconceptions and misinformation, because we are completely against that. We take the no-nonsense approach, and we hate bullshit in life, and even more so in the occult. So you can take our word for this.
Well, hell, there's already so much bullshit in life. You know what? What's the point in spreading it further in magic anyway? And we are, you know our creed by now. If you've listened to a couple of our episodes, you already know that part of our whole principle of being public about our practices, setting our services out there, writing books, this podcast, everything that we do is to remove further misconceptions from the occult world, because it's already so filled with it, and it just fucks everything up.
Thank you all for listening, and we do hope that you'll join us again every second Wednesday, or in this case, whenever we do post a podcast, for another episode. We are always open to suggestions or recommendations on topics you would like to hear about. So do not hesitate to reach out to us. Serious, guys. Give us a message on Facebook or even via our website, just to let us know what you would like us to discuss. Because we are open to any suggestions that you may have, whether you are a solitary practitioner or whether you are a coven, house, or a group. We welcome any questions or feedback.
And besides, it's always very nice to hear from you guys, truly, because sometimes, actually, we're making this podcast from day one. We're talking to, even if there's just one person out there actually listening to us and paying attention to what we're saying, that's fine with us. That's fine by us. That's it. That's all we care about. So hearing from you is always such a lovely thing. It's very nice to hear if our material helps you in some way. Also, if you are interested in the books that we made reference of here, the Book of Azrak or Gospel of the Ghouls, it is available on our website at arachniarcaneservices.com.
Oh, and here's another heads up for you guys. We are currently working on 2 books. 2 new books. Okay, so let's give you a heads up on what it's going to be. The one is Black Witchcraft, and the other one is
On the Daemon, your familiar.
Now you have something to look forward to. Okay, now please like and subscribe to this podcast to be kept up to date on new episodes as they are uploaded.
Find us on Facebook, YouTube, Spreaker, Deezer, Spotify, and other platforms. Also, feel free to visit our parent website at arachnearcaneservices.com. And always remember, as above, so below.
As within, so without.